I'm Sarah. At least, that's who I've been my whole life. Sounds simple, right? You grow up thinking you've got your story straight, until one day it cracks wide open. So here's where it starts. I'm at the passport office, standing under these harsh fluorescent lights, the kind that make everyone look half dead. The air smells like old paper and cheap coffee. The clerk, Miss Harlan, she's got this twitchy vibe, like she's hiding something. She won't meet my eyes, just shuffles papers. Then she hits me with it. I'm sorry, your record was canceled by your mother. My chest caves in, like someone sucked the air out of me. You ever had a moment where the world just stops? Like, what does that even mean? Canceled by my mother? I drive home, radio off, just the hum of the engine and my brain screaming. I'm replaying her words over and over, my hands gripping the wheel too tight. Get to my apartment and I'm on autopilot. Head straight for the file cabinet in the corner. It's this old, rusty thing, creaks when I yank it open. Click. There's a folder labeled 1995 Coleman. I don't know why, but my gut's telling me to check it. I pull it out, and inside, 2 birth certificates. One says Sarah Cole, the name I've always known. The other, Emma Dwyer. Who the hell is Emma Dwyer? My hands are shaking so bad I can barely hold the papers. I'm sitting on the floor, staring at these names like they're gonna talk back. You ever feel like your whole life's been a lie and you're just now getting the memo? So I grab my laptop, hands still trembling, and type Emma Dwyer into Google. Hit enter. The screen lights up my face, hot like fire. And there it is, a missing child poster. My baby photo, those chubby cheeks from Mom's old albums, right under bold red letters. Missing since 1996. My heart's pounding so loud I can hear it. I'm frozen, just staring at that screen, the cursor blinking like it's mocking me. It's daring me to dig deeper. You tell me, what would you do right now? Chase the truth or cling to the comfort of not knowing? Because I'm sitting here, and that choice is burning me alive. I'm still Sarah, I guess, but that name feels like a borrowed jacket now. After finding those birth certificates, I couldn't just sit there. You ever get that itch, like if you don't move, you'll explode? So I grabbed the papers and drove to Margaret's house, my mom, or at least the woman I've called Mom for 20-something years. The living room smelled like lavender candles, her usual trick to keep things calm. I wasn't calm. I held out the birth certificates, my hands steady, but my voice not. Explain this. Margaret's face went pale, like she'd seen a ghost. Her voice wobbled. The flood, it drowned my choices too. What does that even mean? Her words hung there, half guilt, half defense, like she was begging me to understand, but not quite sorry. You know that feeling when someone's words sound true, but smell like a lie? I just stared at her, the air thick, her old clock ticking too loud in the corner. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I left. That night, I was back in my apartment, sprawled on the couch, the lamp casting shadows on the wall. I pulled out some old bills from Margaret, electricity, water, boring stuff. Then I grabbed the adoption file from that 1995 folder. I held them side by side, my eyes squinting at her handwriting. The loops on the G's, the way she crossed her T's, identical. Same swirls, same lie. My stomach twisted. I mean, come on, who fakes an adoption file? What kind of person does that? I laughed at myself a little. Guess I'm the idiot who never noticed. Then my laptop pinged. An email. The subject line stopped my heart. I think you're my daughter, Lydia Dwyer. I clicked it, hands sweaty, the room so quiet I could hear my own breathing. The message was short, but attached was a photo of a hospital bracelet. Tiny, faded, with Emma D scrawled on it. My fingers froze on the mouse. Lydia Dwyer? Emma Dwyer? Me? I tried to picture this woman, Lydia, but all I saw was my baby photo from that missing child poster. You ever get a moment where the world feels too small, like it's closing in? I grabbed my phone, ready to hit reply, but my thumb just hovered there. Sweat was pooling in my palm, my heart racing like I'd just run a mile. I wanted to ask her everything, who she was, what she knew, why now. But before I could type a word, my phone buzzed again. Another message? No, just a glitch, or maybe a warning. Then it stopped. The silence hit harder than the vibration, like the universe was holding its breath. I sat there, phone in hand, the screen glowing in the dark. If you were me, staring at that email, would you hit reply? Truth or family? What's worth pressing for when everything you know might be a lie? Lydia's email was like a bomb ticking in my inbox, and I couldn't ignore it. You ever feel like you're walking into a moment that'll change everything? I agreed to meet her at a roadside diner, the kind with greasy menus and neon signs buzzing outside. The air smelled like burnt coffee, and rain tapped the windows, steady, like a warning. I slid into the booth across from Lydia, her hands shaking as she pushed a stack of photos toward me. Old, faded pictures, a woman holding a baby with my eyes, my chubby cheeks. My throat tightened. "They told me she died," Lydia whispered, her voice barely holding together, eyes wet and searching mine. I reached out, touched her hand, and something inside me just folded, like a piece of me knew her, even as my head was screaming to slow down. Then, flash, Margaret's face popped into my mind, teaching me to walk in our backyard, her laugh bright in the sunlight, her hands steadying my wobbly steps. That memory hit hard, like a betrayal. I pulled my hand back, my fingers cold. "I'm not sure what to believe," I said, my voice smaller than I wanted. You ever have two truths fighting in your head and both feel like lies? I sat there, the diner's jukebox humming some old song, the coffee's bitter smell sticking to my skin. I left the diner, my head spinning, rain soaking my jacket as I stepped into the dark. A whisper stopped me cold. "Who's there?" I spun around, but no one was close. Just a shadow slipping across the diner's window, quick and gone. My heart kicked up, thumping too loud in my chest. I laughed at myself. Great, now I'm scared of my own shadow. But driving home, it wasn't funny. Headlights glared in my rear view, too close, too steady. I turned left at a gas station, my hands tight on the wheel. They turned too. I took a sharp right down a side street, my pulse racing. They followed, their lights cutting through the rain. You know that feeling when you're not sure if you're paranoid or just awake? I kept driving, my knuckles white, telling myself it was nothing, just some random car, right? But my gut wasn't buying it. Those headlights stuck to me, like they knew my every move before I made it. My breath was shallow, the rain drumming on the windshield, the wipers squeaking. I turned into my neighborhood, my heart hammering like it wanted out. Just before my driveway, the engines behind me revved, loud, like a threat, then vanished, gone, like they'd never been there. I sat in my car, hands still gripping the wheel, streetlights buzzing overhead, the quiet heavier than the rain. Was someone watching, or was my mind playing tricks? You ever feel like secrets are chasing you, breathing down your neck? If you were me, would you keep running, or turn and face whatever's out there? Because I'm sitting here, and I'm not sure which is braver. Lydia's face from the diner was still burned in my mind, and I couldn't just sit still. You ever feel like you're holding a grenade and waiting's not an option? I ordered a DNA kit online, my fingers slamming the keyboard in my dark apartment, the screen's glow stinging my eyes. I sent one sample as Sarah Cole, another as Emma Dwyer, just to see what'd come back. Dropping them at the post office, the place reeked of damp cardboard and stale air. My heart was pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. I laughed at myself. Pretty intense for a couple of swabs, huh? Back home, I stashed the extra kit in my desk drawer, thinking I was slick. But Margaret, Mom, or whatever she is, has a nose for secrets. I walked in one afternoon, and there she was, standing at the kitchen sink, holding the extra kit. Before I could open my mouth, she struck a match. The flame devoured the paper, turning it to ash, the kitchen filling with that sharp, burnt smell. "You'll lose everything I built for you," she yelled, her voice cracking like thin ice. I stepped closer, my fists clenched. "You built it on someone else's life." She grabbed my wrist, her fingers tight, desperate, like she could keep me from the truth. I pushed her hand away, not hard, but damn, it felt like breaking chains. In my head, I heard it clear. I won't let fire win again. You know that moment when you realize you're done playing small? The sink was still smoking, her eyes wide, like she was seeing a stranger. I wasn't her little girl anymore. Weeks later, I was in my bedroom, the radiator humming, streetlights flickering through the blinds. My laptop pinged. DNA results. My breath caught as I clicked the email. 99.9% match. Lydia Dwyer. My real mom. I read it again, the words blurring, my hands shaking like they didn't belong to me. I was Emma Dwyer, stolen, renamed, lied to. Rage hit first, then this rush, like I could finally stand tall. Ever feel like the truth is a match in your hand and you're deciding whether to light it or get burned? I wanted to scream, cry, maybe set something on fire myself. Then my phone buzzed. A text from a coworker. Margaret called HR. Watch out. My stomach twisted. HR? Was she trying to sabotage my job, my life all over again? I clutched the DNA report, the paper crinkling, and stepped outside. The street was dark, the air cold, biting my face. Streetlights barely cut through the shadows. Something moved just beyond the light, a shape, quick, gone. My heart slammed against my ribs, my fingers tightening on the report. Was someone out there, or was my mind playing tricks? You ever feel like the truth is pulling you forward, but the shadows are pulling back? I stood there, frozen, the report in my hand like a weapon. If you were me, would you keep chasing the truth, knowing it's gonna cost something big? Because I'm out here, and whatever's coming, I'm not sure I'm ready for it. That DNA report was like a weight in my pocket, heavy and impossible to ignore. You ever feel like the truth's a locked door you've gotta break down, even if it scares you stupid? So I did something reckless, snuck into the hospital after midnight. The parking lot was dead, just a flickering streetlight buzzing like a bad omen. I slipped through a side door, the air thick with antiseptic and cold metal. My pulse was racing, syncing with the faint hum of an alarm somewhere deep in the building. I'm no master thief, all right? I laughed at myself, sneaking around in sneakers like I'm in some low-budget heist flick. The basement records room was all dusty shelves and flickering fluorescents, casting shadows that made me jump. My hands were sweaty, fumbling with the microfilm machine, its whir filling the quiet. Then I found it. Infant Dwyer, released under emergency order, authorized by Margaret Cole, RN. My heart stopped. Margaret, a nurse, signing off on stealing me? The words blurred, my breath shallow, the machine's hum too loud. You ever see something that rewrites your whole life in one sentence? I stood there, fingers trembling on the film, trying to process it. Then the alarm blared, sharp, like it was screaming my name. I froze, breath locked in my chest, heart pounding so hard I thought it'd crack my ribs. Footsteps echoed down the hall, faint but getting closer. I shoved the microfilm back, hands shaking like I'd been caught red-handed. My phone buzzed, nearly making me drop it. A text, short and eerie. Watching, locker 47, before she destroys it. She? Margaret? My throat went dry. Locker 47, what was that? I was sweating through my jacket, the air heavy, the alarm still shrieking like it knew my secrets. In my head, I heard it. She stole my life to save it. Let's finish the story. You ever feel like the truth's slipping away and you're racing the clock to catch it? I bolted down the hall, sneakers squeaking on the tile, the alarm chasing me like a pack of dogs. I ducked into a janitor's closet, the bleach smell burning my nose. My phone's light caught an envelope taped under a shelf, hidden like a dirty secret. My hands were so shaky I could barely grip my pocket knife. I sliced it open, the paper tearing loud in the quiet, my breath hitching. Inside, a locker key, scratched with 47. My heart was still hammering, the alarm fading but not gone, like it was waiting for me to screw up. I stood in that closet, clutching the key, its edges biting my palm. Was this the answer or another trap? The darkness pressed in, the bleach smell choking me, my pulse loud in my ears. You know that moment when you're standing on a cliff and one step could end it all? I was there, the key cold in my hand, my mind racing. If you were holding that key, knowing someone's watching, maybe even waiting, would you keep going? Because I'm right here, and whatever's in that locker, it's calling my name. That key marked 47 was like a hot coal in my hand, and I couldn't wait another second to use it. You ever feel like you're holding the answer to your whole life, but it might just break you? I found locker 47 in the hospital's basement, behind a rusty door that groaned like it hadn't been touched in decades. The air was thick with rust and dust, stinging my nose. I turned the key, my hands shaky, the lock clicking like a gunshot in the quiet. Inside, Lydia's unopened letters, a faded baby blanket, and a stack of medical bills. I flipped through them, my eyes catching Margaret's name. She'd sent $500 a month, every month, for 20 years. I stood there, the papers heavy in my hands, the basement's low hum buzzing in my ears. Those bills, payments to Lydia? For what? Guilt? My chest tightened, grief creeping in like a fog. In my head, I heard it. Maybe she wasn't just my thief. Maybe she was her ghost's redeemer. You ever try to hate someone, but the pieces don't add up? I pulled out one of Lydia's letters, the paper soft, like it'd been held 1,000 times. I read it aloud, my voice breaking on her words. I miss you every day, my Emma. My throat closed up, eyes burning. I stopped mid-sentence. Nope, I wasn't gonna drown in grief again. I'd cried enough. I shoved the letter back, my hand steadier now. I wasn't here to fall apart. I was here to do something. You know that moment when you decide the past doesn't get to win? I grabbed my phone, the screen's glow harsh in the dim locker room. My fingers hovered over Margaret's number, my thumb twitching. I laughed at myself. Look at me, playing tough, holding a baby blanket like it's a weapon. But it was, in a way. Evidence of a life stolen, a mother who lost me, a woman who paid to keep her secret. I hit call. The phone rang, each tone sharp, like a countdown to something I couldn't name. The basement felt smaller, the walls pressing in, that dusty smell sticking to my skin. I could picture Margaret on the other end, maybe in her lavender-scented living room, her old clock ticking too loud. Hello? Her voice came through, a whisper, shaky, like she'd been waiting for this call her whole life. Was she scared, guilty, or just bracing herself? I stood there, the blanket soft against my fingers, the letters scattered like ghosts on the locker floor. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't backing down. You ever stand at a crossroads where one word could rewrite everything? I thought about Lydia, writing those letters, never knowing if I'd read them. I thought about Margaret, sending money, maybe thinking it'd make things right. My hands tightened on the phone, the cold metal of the locker door behind me grounding me. I'm no hero, okay? I'm just a girl who's tired of lies. But standing there, with Lydia's words and Margaret's secrets in my hands, I felt something shift, like I was finally taking the wheel. If you were me, holding that phone, the truth staring you down, what would you say? Because I took a deep breath, ready to speak, and whatever comes out, it's gonna decide what survives. Lydia's funeral was heavy, the kind of day where the air feels too thick to breathe. You ever stand in a crowd feeling alone, like the truth screaming but nobody hears it? The cemetery smelled of wet grass and fresh dirt, the sky, gray, pressing down. I stood by her grave, clutching the DNA report, its edges crumpled from my grip. Margaret approached me slowly, her steps hesitant, like she was walking on glass. Her face was pale, eyes red, but I wasn't feeling sorry for her, not today. I looked her dead in the eye and asked, "Why me?" Her voice shook. "She was dying. They'd send you to the system." Her hands trembled, twisting the hem of her coat. I didn't flinch. Her words sounded like an excuse, not an answer. You know that feeling when someone's trying to justify something unforgivable? The crowd was quiet, just the rustle of leaves and a distant crow cawing. I pulled out the mic from the podium, small, cold in my hand, and shoved it toward her. "Speak it now," I said, my voice low but sharp, like a blade I'd been sharpening for years. Margaret froze, her eyes darting to the crowd. Neighbors, Lydia's friends, strangers. Then she took the mic, her fingers shaking so bad it almost slipped. She started talking, her voice cracking. "I took her, Emma, to save her. Lydia was sick, couldn't keep her. I thought I was doing right." The words spilled out, messy, raw, like a wound opening. She admitted forging the adoption, renaming me Sarah, keeping me from Lydia. The crowd gasped, some whispered, one neighbor murmuring, "We see you now." I stood there, arms crossed, my heart pounding but steady. You ever watch someone's mask fall and it feels like justice? I didn't clap or cry, I just watched her unravel. In my head, I heard it. I didn't need her punishment, just her truth. I'd spent years under her roof, calling her mom, while she carried that lie. I laughed at myself. Thus I was the fool who bought her story for so long. But standing there, with Lydia's grave behind me, I felt something shift. Like I was taking back what was mine. Not Sarah, not Emma, just me, owning my story for the first time. Later that week, I sent the report, DNA results, microfilm, Margaret's bills, anonymously to the state board. I mailed it from a post office across town, the clerk's radio playing some old country song. Days later, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Margaret Cole, RN, license revoked. I didn't cheer or feel bad. It wasn't about revenge. It was about setting things right. You ever do something not because it feels good, but because it feels fair? I sat on my couch, the room quiet except for the hum of my fridge, and for once, I wasn't angry. Then another text came, same creepy vibe as before. Watching, now they see. My stomach twisted. Who was sending these? I laughed nervously. Great, now I've got a stalker or a guardian angel. I dug through my bag, pulling out a USB I'd found with the locker key, labeled Her Truth in Sharpie. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop, the screen flickering to life. Margaret's voice started playing, her confession from the funeral, recorded somehow, clear as day. My breath caught, the room suddenly too small, the air too heavy. You ever feel like the truth's not just yours anymore, but it's out there, alive? If you were me, holding that USB, hearing her voice echo, what would you do? Because I'm here, and the final price of this truth is coming. Margaret's confession at the funeral left me raw, but I was tired of carrying her lies. You ever feel like you've been running from something so long, you forget how to stop? I was done. Standing in the lawyer's office, the air thick with the smell of old books and stale coffee, I gripped the pen. My hand shook, but I signed my name, Emma Dwyer. Not Sarah. Not anymore. It wasn't just ink on paper. It was me stepping into my own skin, claiming what was mine. I laughed at myself. Pretty dramatic for a signature, right? But it felt like shedding a costume I'd worn for years. The lawyer's clock ticked too loud, the room stuffy, but for the first time, I breathed easy. The house I grew up in, Margaret's house, wasn't hers anymore. I turned it into the Dwyer home, a shelter for girls who'd lost their names, their stories, just like I had. I walked through it, the old floorboards creaking under my boots, the air warm with fresh paint and sawdust. The living room, once full of Margaret's lavender candles, now had bunk beds, colorful blankets, and a big window letting in sunlight. I ran my hand along the wall, the wood smooth under my fingers. This wasn't just a house anymore. It was a promise. You ever take something broken and make it whole again? That's what I was doing, one nail at a time. I hung 2 photos on the wall, right by the front door. One was Lydia, my real mom, holding baby Emma, her smile soft but fierce, like she'd fight the world for me. The other was Margaret, teaching toddler Sarah to walk, both of us laughing in the backyard, sunlight spilling over us. I stood there, staring at them, the frames cool under my fingertips. In my head, I heard it. I choose both, but on my terms. You ever try to hold 2 truths at once, even when they're sharp enough to cut? Lydia gave me life, Margaret raised me, and both shaped me, for better or worse. I wasn't erasing either, I was rewriting what they meant. Outside, the yard was alive with laughter. Girls were playing, their voices bright, chasing each other through the grass. I stepped onto the porch, the summer air warm, buzzing with cicadas. I locked the door behind me, the key warm in my hand, like it was holding on to the moment. I stood there, the grass soft under my feet, the sun painting everything golden. I wasn't angry anymore, not at Margaret, not at Lydia, not at myself. I laughed quietly. Guess I'm learning to let go, huh? Forgiveness isn't some big speech or a tearful hug. It's just choosing to live without the weight. You know that feeling when you drop a grudge and suddenly you're free? I thought about Lydia's letters, her words aching for a daughter she never stopped loving. I thought about Margaret's payments, her guilt money sent for 20 years. They both carried their own pain, their own mistakes. I wasn't here to judge them anymore. I was here to build something new. The Dwyer home was my legacy, not just for me, but for those girls out there, laughing, running, finding their names again. I walked back inside, the smell of fresh paint still lingering, and checked the photos again. Lydia's eyes met mine, fierce and proud. Margaret's hands, studying me, felt like a memory I could keep without hating. The girls' voices drifted in through the window, mixing with the hum of a lawnmower down the street. I sat on a chair by the door, my hands resting on my knees, the key still warm in my pocket. I didn't need to punish Margaret. Her truth was out, and that was enough. I didn't need to mourn Lydia forever. Her love was in me, in this place. In my head, one last thought settled. Truth honors forgiveness. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing what you carry forward. You ever wonder what lie you're holding on to, keeping you from your own story? I stood up, the floor creaking again, and walked to the window. The girls were still playing, their laughter like music, filling the air. I wasn't stuck in anyone's shadow anymore. I was Emma Dwyer, and I was enough. The Dwyer home was proof, a place where girls could start over, where names could be reclaimed, where stories could be rewritten. I touched the photos one last time, my fingers lingering on Lydia's smile, Margaret's hands. They were part of me, but they didn't own me. I stepped outside again, the key in my hand, the sun warm on my face. If you were me, standing here, with the truth finally yours, which lie would you face to reclaim your story? Because I'm here, and I've learned the price of truth is heavy, but it's worth every step.